Welcome back to another episode of the Nile and Gerry Tea Podcast. Jerry, how are you doing?
I am alive and I have a cat on my lap, so that's actually great.
Yo, that's crazy. I do not have a cat on my lap. I am the host of the show, Nile Joan Rivers, joined by Jerry, the one with cat on lap. And this is a podcast where we talk about all things magic, etiquette, community, tournaments, all this stuff. Now, Jerry, we just last week talked about tournament etiquette and we got some patch notes. We got some patch notes for people to download and install and update their tournament etiquette. Something you wanted to bring up this week about managing your play space. Take it away.
Yeah, I have ADHD, and obviously, even if I make a list of things, I'm surely gonna forget something. And for whatever reason, this just clicked where it's like maybe one of my pet peeves, honestly, is sitting down for a tournament and maybe the convention center or store or whatever doesn't have a lot of space or whatever, but either way, it ends up where your opponent, or not opponent, but like person to your left or right, is very clearly just not paying attention to like how much space they are taking up and is like encroaching in your territory. Like I've played matches at Grand Prix where people to my left and right both have play mats and I'm on like the babiest of play space, and it's so uncomfortable. And I'm just like looking at both of them like, do neither of you understand what is happening? And that, they're just living their life, just not paying any
Yeah.
attention, no self-awareness.
We need like a word for this, like man spreading, but with like a magic word.
Mm,
Like planeswalker's too long of a word. And you can't like plan spreading, that's horrible. But you know what I mean? Like
I
I don't
do.
know. There needs to be a term for this because it happens fucking constantly. And it's really annoying and also like it's so awkward to try and respond to, right? Like are you gonna look at your not even opponent, person next to you and be like, "Hey, can I actually have a little more room, please?" Like I don't know. How do you approach this, or do you even approach this?
I I'm not anti-confrontation, certainly. I think
Mhm, mhm.
plenty of people who know me will vouch for that. So it's not really that that's an issue. It's just I can't imagine that someone who just like rolls out their playmat well into your space. Like there's generally like table numbers somewhere and it's like their playmat's like out here or whatever. It's like
Mhm.
you don't even notice this. Is me saying anything going to do anything? I'm guessing
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jerry's plan for dealing with this is start a podcast with his friend Niall, film 6 full episodes. Then on episode 7, address this to the entire Magic community. And
Yeah.
then you don't have to confront them.
Grand Prix Portland 2012, Bill, round 4 I sat next to you. You did no, I don't remember.
Yeah, eat shit, Bill. Eat shit.
Yeah. You're an asshole, Bill.
You're an
But
asshole. That would be such a fun segment that we did every week. We just like called someone in the community an asshole.
I mean, that I could also make a list for. I would also likely forget people, but thankfully we now have patch notes, so it'll be okay.
Yo, huge, huge, huge. Yeah, I could also make a list. We could make some lists. That'll be like when we get to the point where we want to drop a Patreon for this. That'll be an exclusive exclusive
Oh
Patreon
God,
reward.
yeah, you gotta pay the dollar to see if your name is on the list.
Yeah, it's like a cameo. You like pay $1 and then you just get like a recording of one of us being like, Richard, not an asshole, But then maybe you
You're
get is an
yeah, it's
asshole.
like, Bill, you're okay, whatever.
Because the crazy thing about that, like, this is actually, the more I talk about it, the better of a scheme it feels like. There will be people who really don't want to be an asshole, and there will be people who really want to be called an asshole by one of us specifically. Like we're gonna get some that's like,
True.
"Am I on the list?" And I'm gonna film it and be like, "You're an asshole," and they're gonna be like, I need Jerry to say it," and vice versa. We're gonna get little freaks on both sides.
All right, this is a tangent, but hear me out. I think I got something
Yeah,
here. Have you ever
yeah,
seen the TV show Veronica Mars?
yeah. I've seen a little bit of Veronica Mars.
Okay, it's a great show. Anyway, one of the earlier episodes has a person. This is a high school show, right? But person
Love Teen Boppers.
creates this online purity test, and
Okay.
then people take it, and
Mhm.
then this person then like people just thought like, oh, it's like this fun quiz that's going around, whatever. But then this person is like, do you want to find out what anyone in our school got? Pay me $20. I'll give you their
Mm.
score. Something along those lines where it's like, we don't necessarily publish the entire list, but like if
Mhm.
you want to check for like your name or someone else's name, you could pay for it, just
Could we build an MTG ELO project for being a good person at Magic events? And everyone gets a score, and if you do something that's a little dickish, your score goes down. If you're really
yeah,
nice, your score goes up. And there could be,
I would love
like a
that.
leaderboard. Yeah. It's
Also,
gotta be
a
just like
leaderboard,
self-reported by the community, like
reverse leaderboard.
reverse leaderboard, who are the 10 biggest assholes. That might make some fucked up incentives though, where people are like, I'm gonna go be a dick at the tournament because I'm
Because
like so close to getting bottom 10.
I want to get on the leaderboard so
Yeah,
badly.
I wanna get on the biggest asshole leaderboard. I want Nile Gerry
Then
to call me an asshole directly.
then maybe I could get a sponsorship or something like no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, put it
This
on your resume.
the quest for clout has gone too far, I think.
Oh, it started too far, I fear.
Well, yes, also that.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, those are our patch notes, and also maybe a little peek into the future. If you would like to be called an asshole or specifically
Eh.
not an asshole by me and Jerry, please let us know in the comments or emails or whatever's. But yeah, so that's it for updating our previous podcasts. But as far as talking about our current podcasts go, we're talking about something that I think a lot of our listeners are not used to and are by and large pretty unfamiliar with, and that is winning games of Magic the Gathering. Now,
Damn.
Jerry,
Brutal.
I I had to take a shot. I like revved myself up by
All
like
right, Niles on the
talking
list.
about calling them assholes.
Bottom
Let's go,
10.
let's go, let's go. I'm winning, I'm winning. There's a spectrum of Jerry to Nile. But yeah, so we're talking about winning. Talking about winning in Magic the Gathering, but not just winning, kind of the mental of what it takes to win. And this is something we've touched on a little bit in previous episodes. We've talked before about, having this like I'm round one at F&M kind of mindset and what that can do for you. But we wanted to specifically talk about it more because it is something that I think is very important to both of us, like approaching the game with this like very intentional sort of mentality. So, Jerry, why don't you kick us off talking about winning as the winningest of the two of us?
Well, maybe honestly, maybe not lately. I don't know, but I don't
I started this, but no one knows this but Jerry. We got on before we hit record. Jerry's like, "How's it going?" And I was like, "Man, I've been punched in the face by life so many times. I've been catching
look, if
so many
okay, if we're
L's,
talking about
Jerry."
life, if we're talking about
Yeah.
life, sure. But I
Yeah.
have not played in many Magic tournaments
If
lately.
we're talking
Just
about
saying.
anything, Jerry, you cannot sit here and be like, "Ah, I think we've won a comparable number of things." Are you kidding me? Are you
Uh,
kidding me?
People think that you are as good as your last tournament result. In which case,
In which
I
case,
am
I'm
pretty bad.
crushing you. Yeah. Yeah,
Probably.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
what your last result was, but I know that mine was poor.
Great. I mean,
So
mine is probably better because I probably, regardless, played like 5 times as many rounds as you did.
likely also true. Yeah, winning is I think just like the overarching theme here for the most part it is very much just like a mental thing, but like I believe that of anything that I have worked on throughout my career, this is the one that most directly, I think, translates into actually winning. Like, you can have a good deck list or a good sideboarding plan or whatever, but I do just feel like if your mental is in very bad shape or you're thinking about things like how much winning would mean to you or like how you're due, you've played in 20 RCQs or something and have not won one yet. Like, now is your time. Well, sorry to say, but you are just dops. Like, you are not probably going to keep winning until that mentality changes. And I think that this is pretty consistent experience for a lot of people where once you cross a threshold the first time, regardless of how difficult it was to get over that line, it becomes so much easier to do it again.
Yeah, no, and I mean, we touched on this a little bit, I think, last week, talking about kind of like the pre celebration that people do, where
Yeah.
like you're in a win and end. and you're already in your head like planning top 8 or whatever, and you're already in your head like high-fiving people. You're already like in your mind, you're there. And then you just get like bodied and it's like so extra crushing, right? Because like you were there in your head and now it's like very clearly not there. Like it feels like you lost more somehow because you were so certain
Well, you
that it
you
was a
lost
lock.
more because you did celebrate, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
it was like, "Oh, you actually never had it." It's like, if you just lost it, well, yeah, then I never had it.
Yeah, no, it is tough. But also for me, the best Magic I ever play is Magic where I am just like not at all tied to any expectations. I don't feel like I have to prove anything. I don't feel like, I need to I don't know. It's when I'm just sitting there playing Magic and like you and I did a team trios thing together last summer. Nadu summer. We did a modern team trios where our whole team was Nadu, which was the only reasonable deck to play if you could acquire the cards. And we could acquire the cards. So that tournament, I did super well. I like honestly crushed that team trios. And
You
every
carried.
single game, I was just having a good time, like I wasn't overthinking things. And like it was the Nadu deck. Like the deck's like fucked up, but also like I think to play it well, you have to like take some sort of big risks, Like you just have to know like, oh, this is the turn where I really like need to win the game and be willing to like kind of do anything. And I was, and like I put myself in a lot of positions to capitalize on luck that I think a lot of other times in my Magic career I wouldn't have done because I'd be playing so conservatively, and so just like, oh, I really want to like win this thing, so I'm going to like play extra, extra, extra safe and never give myself these opportunities to capitalize things. And more importantly, I think let my opponent have just extra time that I shouldn't be giving them, right? Like extra turns. Now they get to capitalize on luck. And I'm just sitting there like, how did I lose what I thought was like an unlosable matchup?
What was it about that event that led to you doing things that you thought were like correct plays, but I don't know, dangerous or risky or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, so like a thing that came up a couple times for anyone who was not around for Nadu Summer doesn't know. Basically, the crux of the deck is Nadu gives every single one of your creatures this ability that triggers twice per turn, where if it gets targeted by anything, you look at the top card of your deck. If it's a land, it comes into play. If it's not a land, it goes into your hand. That's obviously fucking insane. You would pair it with this artifact called Shuko, which equips for free. So then on your turn, you can just equip Shuko over and over to things, basically flip your whole deck over, and then there's like some infinite combos with lands and stuff. Now, you couldn't always get all these pieces in consistently, so there were some alternatives you could do. And one of them, and this came up a few times for me, was you would have Sylvan Safekeeper, where you can sacrifice a land, give a creature Shroud. And you could use that as a thing to target and start the chain with, but it's obviously very risky because you can fizzle, right? And with Sylvan Safekeeper specifically, you're giving your creatures Shroud, so you are like turning off the ability to do it again. Whereas sometimes your victory condition is you draw another Nadu, you recast it, and now you've like reset the two triggers for all the creatures. But if they all have Shroud, it doesn't matter. So, there were just many times where I'd sit there and be like, it's like not impossible that I could get another turn and maybe draw like a Shuko or whatever. But I also know like there's a decent chance that if I pass the turn, my energy, Ruby Storm, Jeskai, like whatever opponent is going to be able to take over the game and win. And so I'd be like, well, I guess it's time to just like ride the lightning with Sylvan Safekeeper and just see if we get there. And I think there was maybe one time where it didn't get me there, but like it always was very much like, oh yeah, this is the play. And I think the thing about that event that really made me like, I don't know, feel comfortable and confident about that is I just didn't put any pressure on myself, like I was so divorced from this idea of I need to win these matches or even like I need to not let my team down. Like I think that's a big thing for like team events that gets a lot of people is they add all this pressure to themselves. Yeah, because
Me,
they're like,
yeah.
I don't want to disappoint my team. I think for me, team events are like kind of easier on my psyche because I think for me, I am just like having a really good time because I'm getting to like play with my friends. And that is just like a better vibe to me. And I know that I don't care if my teammates do worse than I do. Like it truly doesn't bother me. So I just kind of assume my teammates don't care either. And it somehow like takes pressure off for me.
I
So
just
that
don't trust
really,
them.
that you just don't
They
trust your teammates.
yeah, they tell me they don't care, but I don't trust them.
Oh, sure, sure, sure. Do you trust me when I tell you I don't care?
Well, I used to, but now that you're on this bottom 10 list, I don't know what
Oh
to think
no.
anymore.
Oh no, I gotta get my elo up. I gotta get my
Elo
asshole
down?
elo up.
I
I gotta oh no. Yeah. No, I mean, I think there is like some validity to that in terms of like I think a lot of people are like, I don't care how my teammates do, and they definitely fucking care. I really don't care. I really like to me, it is just really fun that I get to like play Magic next to like two friends. That's sick. That I get to like because also like my favorite Magic format, two-headed giant. Any variety of two-headed giant, I think that's like the most fun way to play Magic. I think Magic's really fun when you're like sitting next to a person, like, what do you think? That like collaborative Magic experience is really cool and really unique. So
I
I think
think
that was a big part of it.
I think that's fun and great, but Tuishi typically doesn't have stakes, I guess. And like
I wish it did.
there was a two-headed giant pro tour.
I know, I know. I wish I was there for it. I wish I was there for it, Jerry. That's everything to me.
I skipped that one.
I am not surprised.
I was like, you know what? Me and my roommate could have played off of like
Yeah,
our combined pro level or whatever, and we're just like,
yeah,
nah, we're
yeah.
not doing that. Both just stayed home.
Listen,
That was my crumb.
if they announced another two-headed giant pro tour, that is like the thing that would like lock me in. Like if they were like, "Hey, next year we're doing a 2HG pro tour," I'd be like, "I am going to qualify for this. I am going to fucking qualify for this."
I
And
would
then I'd make you
absolutely
qualify
love
for it, and
I
then we
would
do it together.
absolutely love dragging my best friend out of retirement to make him play the like RCQs for it or whatever. But I think we both know that I would have no interest in playing. By we, I mean me and him. Like
Yeah,
neither of us
yeah,
would want to actually play in the pro tour or whatever. But like we would cut up those local store events. That'd be fun.
yeah. Oh, it'd be so sick. If there's a two-headed giant RCQ season, we could have this. This is a thing they could give us. This is a thing I would forgive everything. I would I want it so bad. They have the
How are
power,
you
they
gonna
could give it
do
to
a
me
2HGRC though? That sounds
in a really fun way. 2v2 all day long. Are you kidding me? The coverage would go crazy.
I don't like it.
I love it. Don't listen to Jerry. This is don't I'm gonna you know what? I edit this. I'm just gonna
Just
I'm gonna
mute
make
me.
you say you love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jerry was just saying slurs. Don't mind him. We had to
So
mute him.
sorry about Jerry, but
Just,
he just said he loved it. He just said he loved it.
yeah, end up on the bottom 10 for no discernible reason. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I care about my friends being happy and having a good time, and I hope that me winning would help that, and maybe it doesn't, and I just put a lot of pressure on myself. I know it's really dumb. I kind of hate team tournaments for that reason, even though they are super super fun. But like I played team tournaments with people where they're like, oh, don't really care, just here for the times, blah, blah, blah. And we lose and it's fun. But same people, we play in a tournament and we do well, way more fun. And you can tell,
Totally.
So it's like
Oh yeah, totally, totally.
they
Well,
care to
winning's
some
fun.
degree.
There's no getting
It
around that.
is.
Winning is fun. Winning is
It
fun.
is.
Winning with your friends, it's like a force multiplier on winning. It's just a good fucking time.
Winning is fun. So here's the thing. You have to trick yourself into not caring about winning.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do.
It is hard, but like I think Magic is a whole lot of different things, not just competing, not just winning. For me, there are certainly aspects that I gravitate towards where I'm like, oh, this is super fun, this is super interesting, like metagaming, sideboarding, deck building in general, those sorts of things. And I also like getting better at things. And so for me, it is fairly easy to then focus on those things, especially because if I am doing that over time, winning will just happen.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about what not to focus on, but this definitely feels like the thing to focus on is the self-improvement, self-work part of the game. And to me, that is like what makes the game exciting. That's like what draws me to it. And it lets me have like what I think is a very healthy disposition and relationship with competitive magic because I am not in any way, tied to my results. I am not in any way like desperate for these wins. The thing I'm desperate for is knowing that I played better than I did previously. And that is like a thing that you can I think pretty easily like observe and quantify within yourself if you're like paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And when you are paying attention to that and like really tracking it, it kind of makes you feel like you're winning sort of all the time. Like I've had so many matches of Magic that I've been beaten in the match of Magic, but I walked away being like, holy shit, like I played out of my mind. That was amazing. Like I feel like I felt better than the person who beat me cuz I'm just like I played so well and I played better than I could have done this like a month ago, 2 months ago, like whatever. And that is just like that is growth and that is exciting and that is the thing that like brings me back to it over and over.
Yeah, similarly, I actually enjoy not just like making mistakes, but like coming out of a match learning something, and maybe that comes from making a mistake. But
Mhm.
oftentimes it's just like seeing a different way in which a matchup plays out or something. And it's like, oh, my plan ended up being kind of bad because the game played out this way. I was not prepared for this. I did not build my sideboard in such a way to be able to capitalize on this or anything. And, my opponent did. My opponent seemed to have done everything right. And that's massive. Like that is such a big upgrade if you are willing to actually look for those things and are actively looking to seek understanding and knowledge in terms of like, yeah, you play a matchup, you go 7-3, okay, I'm 70% in the matchup or whatever, but why? Why are the games playing out like this? How much does it change if you adjust your sideboarding strategy a little bit? Like if you are not looking for these things, they will be invisible, and I think that that tends to happen when people are just focusing on the fact that they lost and they're mad or upset about it. And certainly there is a time and a place, I guess, to like celebrate or the opposite if you
Mhm.
like lose in the finals of something or lose playing for top
Yeah,
8 or
totally.
whatever.
Totally.
But like every single game you play is an opportunity to learn something which will then help you win so much more in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of a thing where like to kind of have this like this mentality of like I am here to improve and I am here to study my mistakes, what my opponent's doing, what I could be doing differently, what tiny little edge I could be giving myself. It just like frames things for you so much better mentally. Whereas I feel like the people who are always, telling their bad beat stories and like, oh, they got so lucky, I got so unlucky, etc., etc. Every time I hear stuff like that, I'm just like, okay, so you're just like not looking for it, right? Because
Yeah, you just don't care.
odds are, surely luck was involved. It's a game of variance, but you definitely could have found something to have done differently or better. And if you couldn't, then like that's the thing you have to work on, right? Before you can even worry about like I need to be better at mulligans or whatever, whatever. Like you have to be able to just identify the the stuff that you're fucking up. Like if you don't want to see it, you won't see it. Like you have to sometimes dig for it.
I used to watch my replays on Magic Online a lot, like pretty consistently, at least if like the game was interesting or close, or there was maybe a situation where I'm like, I don't know if this was the right call there, but like you go back and you watch things, and sometimes it just ends up putting a different perspective on it that you didn't have in the moment. And maybe you notice a thing that you didn't notice while you were playing. And like there's probably a reason for that. So the thing that's happened to me a couple times recently, once I missed a trigger in an RC and my opponent told me that I could have it because they're winning. And I was like,
Whew.
no, I actively don't want it. Like we both know that it doesn't matter, but I feel deep shame knowing that I missed it. And if you let me have it, it might take away from the fact that like I remember the exact circumstances that caused me to miss it. And I know exactly what was going on. So just know I'm not going to draw this card and I will be upset at myself. And then I'm pretty sure that that situation is just not going to happen again because I remember exactly like where my head was at during that time. And that's not exactly, play error thing that I'm fixing. Like I'm not improving, but it's like I'm figuring out ways in which maybe I'm getting like old or whatever. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, the you can have the trigger because I'm winning thing is like so infuriating to me. I This is only sort of like tangentially related, but I had this thing where like I was playing just like a modern FNM with some friends, and I got to like the finals or whatever, and I was just like bringing this like modern deck I'd brewed, and the guy, my opponent, was like, "Do you want to just like split the prizes?" I don't know. It seemed important to him that we split the prizes, and I really did not care because it was a fucking FNM. And I was like, I really just want to like play the deck that I made. I don't care what we do. Like, I will, sure, like we can split prizes if we also like still play, because I just like that's literally the whole reason I'm here. And he was like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." So I like signed the little like we're drawing or whatever thing, submit it, whatever. And then we play and I beat him. And afterwards, one of my friends was like, "That right there like is exactly why I never take those splits at things like F&M." And I immediately knew exactly what she meant, because I was
Heart
like,
was heart was not in it.
y- yeah, it was just like, one, I mean, my heart was in it. I was still
Yeah, yeah.
playing like it mattered, because that's like the whole, all I wanted to do was play this deck I made.
But you want to play
But
against
he
someone who's trying to beat you.
Yes, exactly. And it didn't really have the vibe that he was. And also, even if he was, he's going to walk away and be like, "Oh, I like technically lost in the finals, but like we'd agreed to a prize split, so I didn't actually care. I wasn't really trying." Like, is going to like write it off in his own head
Yeah.
of, like, and he's not going to think about like the very big mistakes, like avoidable mistakes, that he made in that match. And that's crazy because like low stakes, no stakes or whatever, that is still like a place where you can learn to improve. And like taking that seriously and examining even this like silly little F&M of like a match with no stakes attached to it could be the difference between you qualifying and not qualifying for whatever thing you're trying to qualify for a week, a month, a year later.
Yeah, because what is playtesting if not those same sort of circumstances? It's like we are here to play Magic. Ideally, it is with the goal of like learning something specific or whatever. But this person is like, oh yeah, I'll do what you want, which is play this match. But like, I'm really
Mhm.
just gonna phone it in and just not
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
Which, granted, I can kind of relate to. Like, I I can autopilot pretty easily. I can get distracted. And certainly if there are no stakes, it makes it less likely that I care unless there is a chance that I can be learning something. There's like a thing for me to watch out for or whatever. It's just like you need to have like your eye on the prize. At least I do.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. I on the prize, but the prize is playing well and learning and improving.
Yeah. I I think that that is so huge and I think that people underestimate how much impact it does have, even though people repeat the platitudes all the time. Just like, oh, take it
Mhm.
one game at a time,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. But then you also run into these people who get like so frustrated when they lose, regardless of circumstance, whether their opponent top decked them or they queued into a bad matchup or they made a mistake. It doesn't matter. If they were counting their chickens before they hatched,
Mhm.
then it is going to hit them very, very hard and it just sucks. Like
Yeah.
you you're putting yourself in a position where you want to win so badly, and thinking about it so much makes it so that you are never going to win.
You made a really salient point, I think, about this last time we were talking about it, where I was talking about, queuing into Sam Party at RCQs in Denver and talking about how, like, he did not need to try as hard as he would try to beat me. He would beat me every time, but he could have been like at, I don't know, 60% of the power that he was using against me, you know? But I really appreciated and respected the fact that he was like taking it as seriously as it felt like he was taking it. And you had said something about like, well, it is also just good for Sam to treat it that way because it is just like keeping him in the headspace of like matches of magic matter, and it makes it to where, it's almost like training your subconscious, right? Of like when you get into the matches that do really, really matter, there's no part of your brain that's like, we're just playing magic, like we can kind of take off a little bit. It's so used to being locked in every time you're playing a match that it's easy for you to lock in when you need to. And I think that's a really, really interesting point.
Yeah, Magic used to be the most fascinating thing to me when, like, early 2000s, I'm grinding on Magic Online and just staring at the computer screen. Like, can't look away because it's so fascinating. And now, like, it still is, it's interesting,
Hmm.
but maybe I want something on another monitor, or maybe I want to be like on my phone or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I'm not
Hmm.
paying very much attention. And then that has kind of translated to like me playing in real life. Now my opponent's thinking for 30 seconds. I'm just like looking around, what's going on around me, what's happening in the match next to, like, I'm bored. I'm just
Yeah,
bored
harder to
because,
lock in. Yeah.
yeah, that is just how I treat it when I'm practicing. It just forms very bad habits, and it is what it is. But yeah, if you are someone like Sam and every time you sit down to play a match, like you draw an opening hand, you're just like, I'm a stone cold killer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna murder this person. Well, that you're probably gonna keep doing that.
Yeah. So when we talk about like focusing on learning and focusing on practicing, improving, whatever, what does that really like boil down to? What does that really mean? How can people do those things?
So ideally, you would maybe have someone that you are working with and
Hmm.
maybe working on the same decks.
Hmm.
So for example, like me and Dave playing in this GP in Atlanta, and we're playing the same blue black deck, and every couple rounds we're sharing something with the other person that we learned. And it is very interesting to have those back and forths where it's like, what do you think this matchup's about? What do you think is important? How are you sideboarding? Does it matter if you're on the play or the draw or whatever? Those sort of things. When you have someone who is working on the same things as you, it makes it a lot easier. But I am also someone who has mostly done a lot of this stuff solo. And I think for a lot of it, it is trying to figure out how you can actually figure out like what matters in a matchup.
Hmm.
Because so many times I try and have these conversations with people, and they're just like, playing first matters, or they just say some card that like I always sideboard out or whatever. It's just you're not necessarily paying attention like while you're playing the games as to like what is causing either player to win or lose. And I think it does start there. Like you sit down to practice for a thing, and I don't know, like mono red against Pixie. I don't have any experience after Corey Steelcutter, but
Mm.
beforehand, it was basically like if the red deck is just slowly playing out one card per turn, it is pretty easy for the pixie deck to capitalize on that because they're going to
Hmm.
start like double spelling, triple spelling. They're not going to fall behind. They're not going to be in danger of the red deck attacking with 4 creatures and holding open monstrous rage and being able to like do that after you're forced to play your interactive spell. Right? That's kind of what the matchup's about. But I think people just play the games. They're like, mono red deck, I'll board in some removal or whatever, or like
Hmm.
Preacher of the Schism. That card's good against them.
Yeah.
Surely that'll get them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is so beneficial, I think, to have like a person you can work with and like bounce these things off of. And, even just like, I think especially if it's someone that you can play with like in person,
Yeah.
and you can just like sit down and just like jam games together. Like, to me, it really feels like that is a hard thing to replace. Like, not that we don't have tools, not that like all these various tools don't technically work for it, but it's just like it's so much easier, especially because like when you really, you've played like 20 of these matches in a row with your friend or whatever, and then you start getting into like the weird like genie wish variations of the matches, where it's like, okay, you draw exactly the 7 that you think is best, and then draw like exactly the 7 for me that you think is like worst or whatever, like how does that game play out, how does this play out, like it's just so easy and quick to do all sorts of like little micro changes to what you're doing and experimenting and talking about things. It's, I don't know. There's really nothing like it.
I agree with all that. I generally don't experiment with the like, oh, you have the nuts or whatever, and we'll pretend that that is the case and like can I beat that? Because like it doesn't matter all that much compared to
Sure.
just understanding what's going on and ensuring that you have a good plan. Like, I think maybe this is where people kind of spew equity a little bit is like they think that they have to win 100% instead of just like getting it in good. It's like, oh, I have to have the thing that is capable of like beating your nut draw. And it's just like, no, not really. Cause, they're going to mulligan or whatever, or draw an extra land on turn 4 or something. Like, it's very rare that everyone's draw just ends up being perfect.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I just feel like I did it the most when I was preparing for a standard RCQ, right when standard RCQs like started back up, like for the first time in like a long time. And, before they had started, domain ramp, was like the deck that was like dominating standard. And then as soon as like tournaments became a thing, people were like, here's the toxic deck, right? And it felt like fucking unbeatable. Like, if you queued into the toxic player, you were just like, well, GG's to me. Like, your deck felt so unprepared for it. And like, I've been playing my friend Robin just like match after match. And, she had just switched to toxic. I was still on domain. And I was just like, I could not, to save my fucking life, get a game offer. And so we did start getting into like, what kind of hand could I craft, just so I know, like, is there at least like a hand I should be like mulliganing aggressively for in this matchup? Like, what is like my slim chance of beating you, if it even exists? And that's easy to do in paper.
Yeah, no, that is definitely true. Oh no, where'd my thing go? Oh, see,
Oh no, did you lose the
I
thing?
opened too many tabs and then I closed my thing.
Oh, yeah. That's the way she goes sometimes. That's the way she goes
Yeah,
sometimes.
as I'm talking about, like, oh, eventually the ADHD wins. It always wins.
It sure does. It sure does. It takes us all. It comes for us all. At least
Yeah, I
all
don't
of
know.
us ADHD havers.
They've tapped off already. They don't make it to the 45-minute mark. It's fine. I wanted to talk about this and bring it up again because it's just become increasingly clear the last few bigger events I've gone to where, sometimes you can just talk to people generically about magic and learn a lot about them as a human based on, I don't know, just like how often they drop like, oh, like I really want to win this event kind of thing or whatever. And it's just like,
Mm.
well, yeah, the fact that you are saying that means that you are probably thinking about it way too much instead of all this other stuff. And therefore, I could probably just bet against you and it would be safe, And I think with all the RCQs and the RCs and everything, and like people are really in the thick of things of trying to qualify. And a lot of these folks are newer players within, the last 6 or 7 years or so. And I think that that is very apparent where it's like maybe they have been practicing for a while and now they finally get a shot of participating in this organized play thing and really want to make something out of that, but like you can't rush it. You can't rush anything good in life effectively. You can't just will a thing to happen. Like there is a process to things, and you have to respect and appreciate that thing. And maybe it's not finding mistakes or learning things or whatever. Maybe it is just about enjoying the events or hanging out with friends or whatever it is, something that you are able to enjoy about magic. But you really have to focus on something else other than like how much you care about winning an event, because I swear to God, almost every single person, as soon as you win an event, if that's all you want to do, now you're like, oh, I guess I have to win another one. Like that is the only thing that is more like I have to prove that this one wasn't a fluke or whatever excuse you tell yourself. Like it doesn't end. It's not going to make you feel better.
Yeah, totally. Like it is one of those things. I feel like there's so many things like this just like in life that it's so easy to get it in your head that like this thing will fix you. You know, this thing. It reminds me of like I feel very similarly about this as I feel about like buying a new car, a thing that I had to do recently because of a car accident. And unfortunately, the thing I strongly feel about buying cars is you should only ever buy a car when you do not need to buy a car, right? Like you are in the best position to be buying a car when it's not a thing that you need to be doing.
Sure.
Because when you need to be doing it, now like your back's a little bit against the wall. And that's the position I found myself in very recently.
Oh no.
Similarly, I think like looking for partners. I think if you're looking for like a romantic partner, you should be doing that when you don't feel like that's a thing you need. Like you don't feel like you're trying to like fill a void in your life. You should be doing that when you're just like, I don't know, working on yourself and like feeling good about yourself and like you don't have this sense of like, oh, I need a partner, right? Like you are just like, I'm happy with my life and if I happen to find like someone I was romantically interested in, that'd be cool. Similarly, I think with stuff like magic, you can't be approaching it like, I need this win. I need to win this event. I need to top eight this. Because like that sort of that desperation and that feeling of like this is the thing that will fill the void is going to one make it harder to win because you're going to like be putting so much pressure on yourself, and two, make it very unsatisfying when you do win and you have to go, oh no, that wasn't it, that wasn't the thing that fixes me.
Yeah, it is satisfying to win,
Sure.
but then yeah, when you realize like you wake up the next day or the day after and you're still like unhappy or depressed or whatever, and then you think back like, oh, but I won that thing though, and it doesn't even do anything for you. You're just like, oh no, now what?
You can go to therapy for less than the cost of a modern deck, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe not as many appointments as you would need to fix you either, but
Maybe not, but it's a good start.
it is a good start. If nothing else, like they should be able to give you a framework, of
Yeah.
things that you can do on your own.
A legacy deck though, you're cured.
I would hope so.
Legacy deck though, you're chilling. You're doing so much better. So, you know, if you have a legacy deck and you're depressed, that's tough. You know you made the wrong call. Pauper players
What if,
in therapy, you guys are doing it right.
yeah, for real. What if I have a legacy deck, I'm in therapy, and I'm still pretty depressed?
All right, sad Mr. Moneybags or whatever.
Yeah,
Legacy deck and therapy.
I feel like if I won a tournament, then I'd be good. That's the one thing that's missing. I haven't
You're right.
won anything
Everyone else is wrong, but for you, it would fix you. It would fix you.
but
You need to win a
you're
tournament.
right.
Yeah. Everyone else, there's bigger things going on in your life. You got bigger demons to slay. Jerry Thompson specifically needs to win a tournament. Won't be happy without it.
It's really hard when I don't make it past round 5 though.
It's harder to win tournaments when you drop them because you get tired of playing them. That's true. That's true. That does
Give
hurt the
me
chances.
give me a siesta, you know?
Yo, okay. Fuck the like pizza round or whatever at RCQs where they're like, we've played 2 rounds and now we're gonna have a lunch break. Siesta break.
Yeah.
You're on to fucking something here.
Just give me
Play a
like a
couple
little
rounds and just
beanbag
be like,
chair.
we're just gonna have an hour of quiet time.
Yeah, just
We're just gonna have an
everyone
hour of quiet
be
time.
quiet.
We're gonna turn off the harsh overhead lights. We're gonna turn off we're gonna turn off these lights and we're just gonna have a nice little hour of quiet time before we get to our next round. We're gonna all take a little break. We're gonna come back recharged, ready to game.
Who is the magic judge that could do the ASMR like called draft to put you to sleep?
Oh, jeez. Elliot Raff could do it for sure.
Yeah,
He's like theater trained,
yeah.
Like he's got vocal chops. I'm positive that if you gave him an ASMR mic at a fucking magic tournament, he'd be able to like do it with power somehow, Like he'd be able to like whisper powerfully. And
I believe it.
I think I'd feel comforted. I think I'd feel comfortable in at home. Yeah.
Well, maybe I need to hit up him on Cameo, get him to do an ASMR called draft for me. Maybe I'll be able to sleep for 8 hours in a row.
Oh, that's such a sick idea. We can't release this episode because we've had too many golden ideas. People are gonna steal them,
Is
and
true. We're gonna have
this
to
is
put this one in the vault until we can implement these things.
yeah. Until we have like a Patreon and also an Elo project, and we've like got Elliot Raff on like exclusive retainer. So a lot for us to tackle. We got a lot on our plate now, and now
Thankfully,
we got to record a
timeless.
new podcast episode.
Yeah, that's kind of a tilt, but like timeless episode,
Silence.
because
Yeah,
this is just the thing. Every year I meet some person where I'm like, oh, I guess I have to talk about this thing again because you're a person who has not thought about this.
You're poisoned by wanting to win.
Yeah, it's okay to just want to like improve. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
part of the problem, honestly, is like people are like, "Oh, look at that person with that trophy," and really they don't. It's like, okay, that person
Yeah.
won, but then next week they don't care.
Right.
But there isn't enough celebration about learning things like figuring out matchups and like good sideboard plans. Like people will buy your sideboarding guide, but they
Mhm.
recognize
Mostly
it's just
only if you win.
mostly only if you win. But they'll buy your sideboarding guide knowing that it's just cutting 6 cards at random and bringing in 6 cards. Like there's no,
Yeah.
you didn't like figure out the matchup. You just figured out what cards were like
Mhm.
kind of bad and put in some cards that are a little bit better. I don't like that.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it is. It really sucks. And also like I think it's tough for a lot of people because their concept of improving is so centered around winning. So they're going to events just being like, well, I top eighted my last RCQ and I didn't make top eight this time, so I did worse. I did not improve. If anything, I like backslid a little bit.
If you choose to not learn anything from those matches and your losses, then yeah, you are backsliding. You're right.
Snaps. Snaps.
I played
Yeah,
I
that
played 2 RCQs last weekend. I
mhm.
did not
Oh
top eight
wow.
either of them.
Holy shit. Washed.
My friend who I handed a sleeve 75 to, effectively won them both.
Hell yeah.
He sold the slot in the first one, and then oh no, he did that in both of them. Yeah, because it's like Houston, Vegas,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Oh, Houston?
Houston and Vegas. Yeah,
We're qualifying for Houston right now?
yeah.
Ugh.
No, Niall, we are playing Magic for the times.
I would sell my
Anyway,
slot too. Houston or Vegas?
yeah,
What the hell?
I played 2 different decks. I thought that they would both be really fun, and they were. I thought that they would both be pretty bad, and they were. But I learned a lot of stuff, and I got it out of my system. And
Mhm. Mhm.
now it's time to play good decks.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's learning. That's improvement. That's growth. Even though I
Rip
got my
to
ass
your
kicked.
local Magic players. Jerry's bringing a good deck next time.
Oh yeah, I mean, we normally kind of rob them, just the local stores, and watching my 2 friends rob the stores while I just got bodied playing like just bad standard cards in modern. Really, I was like, yeah, I shouldn't do this. I should also be out there robbing folks
Yeah. Totally. Totally you should. It'll fix you.
more so than
Well,
learning would. Learning, boo. Who wants to
absolutely.
learn?
Boo. Stinky. Harder. Harder. That's all we have to say about winning for this week, anyway, until we have patch notes next week because we both have severe ADHD. Before we say goodbye, we're going to leave with another question from our good friend Briar, who emailed this in as, talking about new segments. We're kind of in like the Briar hour at this point. So thank
Briar's
you again,
question of the week.
Briar. Briar's question of the week. Thank you again for sending one. If you would like to have Jerry and I read your question on the podcast, email it to me, nilejoanrivers@gmail.com, or add us on Twitter or Blue Sky or Discord or leave a comment here or where the fuck ever. Just send a question. We'll find it. I'm looking all the time. So the question we have from Briar this week: what, if any, TCGs do y'all enjoy playing slash dabbling in outside of Magic? And what is it about those TCGs that you find so interesting? Now, I find this question very interesting and very hilarious because I don't know how many of our listeners know this, but I know that my good friend and co-host Jerry Thompson fucking hates games. Hates games. Hates them so much. So Jerry, what other TCGs you into and why?
I have a complicated relationship with games. It
Mhm. Mhm.
basically comes down to I'm picky. I like what I
Mhm.
like, and I am not willing to shovel slop just for the sake of it. So people will ask me to try a thing, I'll bounce off it, and they'll be like, "Oh, why? You play like this other stuff." And I'm just like, I just don't like that one, you know?
Don't like the
And
vibes.
yeah, there's I don't know, like 5 games I actively like right now, but they're not card games, you know? And it's like that's like out of all games. And I'm sure people would just be like, "Oh, there's like 50 incredible games out right now." And it's like, "Yeah, that's true, but not for me." You know?
Mhm.
Anyway,
Mhm.
all this is to say, games I've played previously for stretches of time include Hearthstone, although that one was 3 or 4 years after it came out. I refused to try Hearthstone for the longest time. I played Shadowverse for a couple years as well, and certainly Hearthstone's initial design I did not like. There were a lot of cards that were, French vanilla y, and then there were just the occasional thing where it's like this costs 3 less than it's supposed to. So it's like you're playing core set, but then the occasional super busted card. And none of that experience really felt great to me. But when things kind of solidified a little bit and they started branching out, making more different things, then it was interesting and appealing. I played for a few years. Shadowverse, kind of the middle of the road between Hearthstone's beginning and where it ended. Like it wasn't the fanciest, but it got like a little more fancy over time, and then it went too hard. It got to the point where every deck could OTK you on turn 10. Like they just had a way to fireball you for 20 and you could never go above 20. And there was no like armor or anything effectively. It was
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
silly. It was just like deterministic kind of like
Yeah.
play draw matters a ton. Sometimes you did actually want to draw first because they gave you like a coin that was like better than a coin if you were on the draw, and like sometimes that mattered more in the matchup or whatever. But regardless, it just got to a point where it was like, oh, on turn 10 I fireball you, and it was so silly. I just quit. I just stopped logging in, and I don't regret that at all. But they are relaunching Shadowverse. I'm interested to check that out. Kaijudo is another one, which is basically dual
Mm.
masters, and I started playing the game, decided I liked it, started buying a bunch of cards, got hired by Wizards. They were making Kaijudo, so I had to stop playing Kaijudo, but then I got to start working
Mhm.
on Kaijudo. That was cool.
That's cool. That is
And
cool.
so I worked on 2 sets and then they killed the game.
Damn. Sucks.
And those are the only 2 sets that they were ever in the black.
Tough. Tough, 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 tough.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that's kind of the other end of it too, is like, I don't know, these games die at times, right? And
yeah, they sure fucking do.
that's generally pretty sad. So Lorcana is effectively Kaijudo slash Duel Masters. It's literally made by the same person
Mm,
who made all 3 games. And
sure.
a lot of those folks were like, "Oh, when are you going to play Lorcana?" And it's like, I don't really care about Disney, and I don't know, prove to me that this game is not going to die within 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, give it like 7 years and then we'll talk.
But
Yeah, it's reasonable.
we used to get new card games on mobile all the time. More specifically like
Yeah, true.
Magic kind of clones or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
right? It feels like we haven't gotten one in so long. Like I play a lot of Marvel Snap and I like the game, but it's not Magic. It's not the same thing. It's like,
No, it's very different. It's fun, but it's very different.
yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Those are Jerry's games.
Yeah, Jerry's games. For me, I'm very excited about this question because there is a new, well, new to me TCG that I've been playing a lot lately and getting really into. And it's a very surprising one for me. and that is the One Piece trading card game. Now,
Hell
it's
yeah.
surprising for me because I am One Piece's biggest fucking hater. I do not
Tell
like One Piece as
tell me
an
more.
as an intellectual property. I hate it. I'm not going to get into all the reasons why I hate it because One Piece fans get really fucking upset when I do, but I don't like it. So I
I just
never
don't
played the
like the
card
art.
game.
I think the story's
Sure.
good from what I've heard, but
Yeah, yeah.
art
I
style weird.
the art is a big part of it for me. But anyway, I that kept me from playing the game for a long time. It's because I was like, I fucking hate One Piece. I'm not gonna play the fucking One Piece card game. But then when I moved up here, I met this dude who was like trying to sell me on the One Piece game, and I was like, I fucking hate One Piece. And he goes, I fucking hate One Piece. He was like, I hate it too. That's my least favorite part about this game is that it is at all related to One Piece. The game is really fucking good. And it was someone whose like opinion I trusted on games being good. So I tried it. He was fucking right. The game rips. The game's so much fucking fun. It's so good. It feels like all your decisions matter so much. The fucking like Dawn, the mana system is really neat and adds this like really interesting layer to the game. You get to say Tony, Tony, Choppa all the time, which is like really fun. The game is sick. The game is just so fucking good. And I've since started playing it, been trying to evangelize it to people. And it's just like constant where I'm like, you got to try the One Piece game. And they're like, I don't like One Piece. And I'm like, I know, I don't either. Like, you don't
Yeah.
understand. It's just good. Like, I want to like print proxies of all the cards in like, just like little cats and dogs and stuff and not tell
Yeah.
people it's One Piece and just be like, check out this game, And then they
You
play it
skin
and I'll be
it
like, joke's on you.
with something neutral like Cookie Run Kingdom instead of
Hmm, hmm,
Naruto or
hmm.
whatever, and like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, maybe that gets in a few people and alienates a
Hmm,
few people,
hmm.
but like,
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been playing a lot of the One Piece card game. Really fucking digging that. I mean, I think I've talked before on here about how important the very old, made by Decipher Star Wars CCG was to my card game development. And I mean, that's a game that I think like probably is bad, in terms of like I would not show it to somebody. Like I would not introduce somebody to the Star Wars CCG because it's really fucking intense. And it's like your deck is your life total and like you have to mill your opponent to death. Like that is the only victory condition, and like you cycle through the cards in your deck a bunch. So you also do things where like you are keeping track of like various cards and like, all right, this card is like 17 cards down and this card's like
oh
32 cards
no,
down. And you
oh
do all
no.
that kind of stuff. And I fucking love it. It's so good to me. It's so much. It's the crunchiest fucking game I've ever played in my life. I love it. I adore it. It is the reason I like card games. But I would never introduce somebody to it. The last time I introduced somebody to it, it was one of my exes, and I showed them the game and they didn't like it, which I should have predicted. And that made me so upset that I cried. And I was like, you know what? I realize now that this game is too important to me to show other people
Yeah.
because you're right. Like, it is not very good, but like, it sucks for me to watch you hate it? So,
You're like, yo, this is this big important thing in my life, and they're like, yeah, it sucks though, and you're just like,
yeah, totally.
what the
Yeah,
hell?
yeah, yeah. So now that is like my little guarded treasure that I would never show another human because I love it too much. That's all there is to it. So yeah, Star Wars, One Piece. Those are my big ones right now. Those are my big ones right now.
Yeah, One Piece is another one of the ones where it's like, well, I need this to show some longevity, and if people are still giving it good reviews after a bit, then maybe we'll see. But like, not super attached to the IP, and
Hmm.
it also sounds like Bandai is dog shit at running tournaments.
The organized play is the worst part of the game for sure. For sure. I just like the guy who got me into One Piece just went to what was effectively one of their RCQs. And I don't know if you know this, but the way their RCQs work is you can't just sign up for one. You have to like enter into like a raffle to be
Yeah.
allowed to even play. And he enters into this raffle and he gets like you're allowed to play is on like the wait list to like, just show up to the store. He's literally number 1 on the wait list. And to the store owner before, like a week before, I was like, "Hey, if I end up on this wait list, like it's just a thing where like I show up and because I'm on the list, I'm in the RCQ, right? And the guy's like, yeah, that's how it works. Number one on the wait list. He goes to the event and they tell him, oh, sorry, the wait list is actually first come, first serve. And it's already full. You don't get to play in the RCQ. And he said that he immediately sat at a table and said, hey, everyone, I'm selling all of my alt arts. And just opened up his binder and like all the fucking One Piece players came and he was just like, bam, 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 just selling like almost his whole fucking collection, except for like the decks that he plays. And he was just like, I'm just not going to try to interface with this game on a competitive level anymore. Like, I'll play casually with friends, but this is bullshit. Like in Magic, like a 10-year-old kid wants to go play an RCQ. Guess what that 10-year-old's doing? Playing a fucking RCQ. You know, like it just happens. One
Yeah.
Piece, your most fucking enfranchised, desperate to play the game player wants to play the game, does everything they're fucking jumps through all like 70 of your hoops, doesn't get to play the game. That is a fucking death sentence, bro.
Yeah, a buddy of mine plays because he used to play Magic, but now his partner works at Wizards, so he can no longer play Magic. So he's
Yeah,
playing
so
like Flesh
he
and
has to get
Blood
it somewhere else. Yeah.
and One Piece and stuff. So like any of the One Piece stuff I know about is probably from his Twitter account.
That's funny. Mitzi, she's flicking her tail onto the mouse of my computer and just like she's almost stopped the podcast like 3 times. She just like flicks it perfectly to the stop button and then like right clicks. And I'm like, careful. But yeah, Briar, thank you once again for your question. Feel free to keep sending them. We'll keep answering them in
Oh
our
yeah.
Briar spot of the week or whatever. But yeah, I think that's all we've got this week for you. If you've enjoyed the show, please leave a little like, comment, maybe a little subscribey if you're feeling freaky. Maybe drop us a question or, just write and tell us how, that you listen and you like it. These are all cool things to do. But that's all we got. I've been Nile Joan Rivers. Jerry's been Jerry. See you next week. Bye.